All right, so as promised, here's a bunch more videos of people taking sets either to true zero reps in reserve or to failure. I'm going to present them with the same rep duration analysis I've been doing the whole time. Once again, folks, there are no spoilers. It all looks the same because this is what failure looks like. Since it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't take a jab at Mike, y'all might be aware that he did a bulking roundtable with, let's see, Eric Helms, Menno, Jeff Nippard, and I know I'm forgetting someone. I apologize for that. I'm not even listen to it because I can't sit through 2 hours of babbling to explain eat 5 to 10% over maintenance and then diet back down to your genetic limits. But I'm willing to bet that at no point did Mike disagree with someone and say, maybe you should come coach me. See, Mike likes to pretend to be good and evidence-based in environments where he can't get away with that bullshit. And he only pulls that crap with me in environments where he knows that the people watching his videos, who, as he put it, want to stick his cock and balls in their mouth, will think that he's winning. Mike, if you thought you were right, you would have brought me facts the way you brought facts to that waste of time roundtable. But you still know you're wrong. Just a quick reminder for all the illiterates out there, these videos are not meant to suggest that you should train to failure, but that you should train to this intensity. They are meant to indicate and demonstrate what actual muscular failure and zero reps in reserve look like. Because if this is not happening and your rep speed isn't slowing, you are not hitting zero reps in reserve. And if you don't know what zero reps in reserve or failure is, you cannot anchor a set to that. Are we clear? So let's get to the videos. For each one, I'm going to do the same rep duration analysis that I have from the beginning. Now, I know it's boring, but I am including the entire set from start to finish. And that's because I know what dipshits on the internet are like. If I were to remove the first 5 reps, even if they're the identical speed, someone will go, see, Lyle is just cherry picking the repetitions because he knows he's wrong. So you got to sit through all of them because of those dipshits. All right, let's do it. All right, so we've got Martin Kumaru, whose name I'm quite sure I mispronounced, about to do a set of hack squats to 0 reps in reserve. All right, 1.11 seconds. The first whole bunch of reps are all the same, 1.11, which is why I've got meh RER listed, 1.14, 1.07, and this is just 1.09, depends on where I pull the first and last frames, 1.11. So compelling stuff, 1.13. All right, at 5 reps in reserve, we're still at 1.10 seconds. Readjust his feet for some reason, 1.15 seconds at 4 reps in reserve. All right, 3 reps out, we go up to 2 seconds, a little bit slower through the middle. 2 reps in reserve, we're still about 2 seconds flat, a little bit of a break. Coming into 1 reps in reserve, it stalls mightily at the sticking point, 5.10 seconds. And then 1 more rep, 0 reps in reserve, stalls about the same, actually about the same speed, and he is done. All right, so pretty much the same thing. First whole bunch of reps, right about 1 second apiece. 3 reps out, it goes to 2 seconds, so a doubling, a little bit slower through the middle. 1 rep in reserve out, it's just over 5 seconds. Definite stalling at that 90-degree angle where the lever arm is longest. And then the final rep was the same. I think it was 4 hundredths shorter. It's really hard to see, but he actually didn't go to quite lockout, but it probably would have been about the same speed. I don't think he would have gotten another rep. Again, hack squats like leg press, tiny bit more bounce. Frequently you have a series of final repetitions and get multiple ones. Doesn't change the fact that from the first rep to the last one he completed or attempted, rep duration 5 times slower. Went from just over 1 second to over 5 seconds. Now, Martin had originally sent me a set of easy bar bicep curls, but it was shot from the front and the cameraman kept moving around, so it was going to be damn near impossible, or at least was going to give me a headache to try to figure out where the rep started and stopped. So I'm going to skip that one and go straight to a set of leg presses that he sent me. All right, so this is Martin again doing a set of leg presses, and actually it's a set of 35, which is good in that it allows me to show something about the low load training that I think is relevant, but bad in that it is boring as all hell. So I've gone ahead and sped up the reps. I kept them all in there, but no way is anybody going to sit through this at full speed. So the first 17 reps are at 20 times normal speed. They're all basically 1 second, 1.15, 1.10. There's one weird 2-second rep in there. I don't know why. All right, into the next set, double speed, 2.23 seconds, 2.04. So we've doubled at this point. We're into like the 20 to 30 repetition range here. 2.13 goes down to 3 seconds. 3 seconds again. All right, again, a little bit slower, just over 3 seconds. The next rep, 2.2, I have exactly no reason. I don't know why. Back to 3 seconds. 3.13 seconds. 3.09 seconds. Again, we get one at 2.21. I have no idea why. All right, coming to the last 5 reps. 5 reps in reserve, 3.09 seconds, although it looks slower than that. 4 reps in reserve, same, right about 3.11 seconds. All right, 3 reps in reserve, we're up to 4.12 seconds. We've now quadrupled roughly from the starting speed. All right, 2 reps in reserve, 4.14 seconds, still right about the same. All right, next repetition, 1 rep in reserve, somehow faster, 3.17 seconds. I have no clue why. Finally, at 0 reps in reserve, comes out of the bottom, grind, 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 5.23 seconds, slightly under 5 times the first 17 or so repetitions, and he is done. All right, so we've got a few things going on here. One, Martin does something a little bit weird when he brings the sled back, where he kind of brings it back, and then it bounces forward, and he brings it back, and pauses, and sometimes there's a little bit of an extra bounce. I tried to start the first frame on the first actual movement forward, not the little bounce thing. Also, his lockout is a little inconsistent. Sometimes he locks his knees completely, sometimes he doesn't. Made the final frame where I saw the knees stop moving. So the first 17 reps are all about 1.1015 seconds, except for one weird rep that's 2. And I don't know why. If he got less of the bounce, if he slowed down, so it goes. Coming to the next 10 or so repetitions, slows to the 2-second range before moving up to, say, 3 seconds. And then there's one weird rep there right in the middle. There's a couple that go to 2 seconds and then back to 3 and then back to 3 and then back down to 2 at 6 reps out. Don't know why. Again, maybe more of a bounce. Maybe cut the range of motion a little bit. I looked at it multiple times. That was the time frame. Coming into 5 reps out comes very consistent. You get 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, although then back down to 3. I don't know why. I would guess the same reasons. Finally, the last repetition, sort of doesn't matter, goes up to over 5 seconds, which is nearly 5 times what the first 17 reps are. So the general pattern is the same. So when you allow a little bit of a rebound, that little bit of a bounce, I think the leg press can get funky sometimes. But the general pattern still holds, minus those weird exception reps. I think the really important thing this shows, and this is something I made the point of in the original article, right, is that 5 reps in reserve, 4 reps in reserve, 3, 2, 1, 0 are the same, no matter how you get there. On a set of 5, it'll basically look like these last 5 reps and every other last 5 reps I put up. On a set of 15, the first 10 will look about the same, and then the last 5 will show this pattern. And on this low load training, this 30 to 35 rep shit, same thing. Basically, you're doing 30 reps to get to the same last 5 reps, but they're always the same no matter how you cut it. His last repetition, rep 35, was still nearly 5 times slower than rep number 1, and even the first 17 or so reps. I would also again contrast that to Mike's little training partner doing his hard set of 30 where the sled never slowed. This is a set of 35 to failure. That was a set of 30 meant to impress guys who are, as Mike so eloquently put it, trying to get their dick and balls in their mouth to look cool. All right, next up, Nicholas Rolnick doing a 1RM overhead press. So even though I didn't plan it, this kind of makes a nice contrast to that set of 35 in the leg press before. It's also really easy to edit. 1 rep maximum. It took him 6 seconds from start to finish. Because what's the other point that I've made is that the final rep to true failure or to true 0 reps in reserve, regardless of the rep range, is essentially a 1 rep maximum, right? As force production is falling relative to the requirement, as soon as you get to just slightly above failure, you are doing effectively a 1 RM. And that's why the rep speed on this is so slow. That's why the last rep on Martin's leg press was 5 seconds. That's why the final rep on one of the hammer chest press sets I put up took 7 seconds. No matter how you get there, whether you do a set of 1, a set of 5, a set of 15, set of 35, a final rep to 0 reps in reserve should look like a 1 RM in terms of how fast it moves. That's why you can use bar speed at less than 1 RM sets to predict 1 RM. And it shows basically the same relationship. Just like the paper I put in the video 2 times ago did by Ogden. I think that's what the name was. It all looks the same, guys. 0 reps in reserve, this is what it looks like. And if the bar didn't slow like this, it wasn't reps in reserve. And no matter how much he wants to argue against it, nothing Mike has shown looks anything like this. Moving on, Jeff Albertson, another set of deadlifts. All right, here's Jeff Albertson doing a set of cheater deadlifts, 1.15 seconds, 1.13 seconds, 1.16 seconds. Now he takes a little bit longer rest here, 2.05 seconds. Again, a little bit longer rest, 2.21 seconds, and that's where he stopped. Right, so this is a little bit like the deadlift video I put up in the last collection video. There's a little bit of bounce at the bottom, which make it a little tough for me to figure out the start frame. I tried to pick the first visible bend of the bar. Same thing with the lockout. It's a little inconsistent. So again, a little bit of guessing. It's the pattern here is not quite as distinct. It stays very consistent for the first 3 reps by about 1.15 seconds. He does take a little bit more of a break before rep 4, so he loses that rebound. That could be why it's a little bit slower. And honestly, the last rep didn't move significantly slower than the first one. Actually, the previous video he had shown me was a better indicator, but he put some weird meme images up in the middle of it, so maybe he couldn't run it. Could he possibly got another rep? Maybe, maybe not. The video I didn't show, he hitched horribly on the final repetition, and I don't think he got. So it's probably a better example, again, because of those memes. So not as clear an example, but the rep speed still does slow. Might he have got another rep? Yeah, this is one of those movements that you can rest a little bit longer on the floor. The reps weren't super consistent technically or in between reps. So not the best example, but I'm putting it up there because I have intellectual honesty, and I'm not only going to show videos that show exactly the pattern I'm describing. Rep speed still slows. That's what really matters here. Moving on. All right, next up, Eugene Loki doing a heavy set of 5 in the bench press. All right, so first repetition, 4 reps in reserve, 1.06, 1.10, 1.22, little bit slower, tiny bit of stall off the chest, 1.23 seconds, couple big breaths, 0 reps in reserve, and it's going to be a grinder. And he could have very easily given up 4.23 seconds, and he's done. So a little bit more probably standard example of a heavy set of 5 than the previous deadlifts. First 2 reps, about 1.10 seconds. Third and fourth reps, slow, a tiny bit, 1.22, 1.23 seconds. Very consistent. Since he's bouncing, like on the leg press, a little bit more rebound, hard to tell. Going into that last repetition, kind of doesn't matter. Goes from 1.23 seconds, jumps to a grinder through the middle, and most would have given up halfway through that rep. He stays with it, grinds, 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 4.23 seconds, and he absolutely would not have gotten another rep through the sticking point. So that's a quadrupling of rep duration from the first repetition to the last repetition. All right, next up, 2 sets of squats by Ian Campbell. The first one to 0 reps in reserve. All right, so here's Ian setting up, I want to say that's 365, set of 6. All right, first rep, 1.08 seconds. 5 reps in reserve, 1.09, basically the same. 4 reps in reserve, 1.14 seconds. 1.18 seconds, effectively the same so far. 2 reps in reserve, 1.19 seconds. The guy walked next to him, which always annoys me. All right, 1 reps in reserve. Rep speed doubles to 2.11 seconds. All right, a little bit longer, get set up for that last repetition. He knows it's going to be rough. All right, and a grinder, and a grinder, and a grinder to 4.20 seconds for 0 reps in reserve, and he is done. So again, fairly standard stuff here. Heavy set of 6. First 5 repetitions, all basically the same at second, 1.1 seconds and change. 1 rep in reserve, that doubles to 2.11 seconds. As he gets set up for the next rep, he does rest a little bit longer because he knows it's going to hurt. The 0 reps reserve rep took him 4.20 seconds, a doubling of the previous rep, and just short of a quadrupling of rep 1. Okay, that's what 0 reps reserve looks like on squats. Now, Ian was nice enough to demonstrate what a set of squats to failure looks like. All right, so here's Ian again setting up a big squat. I want to say it's 455, but it's hard for me to see how many plates are on that. It may be the same 365. All right, 3 reps in reserve, 1.09 seconds, 1.14 seconds. This next rep glitches in the middle. It actually was 1.22, but it was still a glitch. 1 rep out, 1.21 seconds. All right, at 0 reps in reserve, we're back to 2.10 seconds, same as his previous set. Takes a little bit longer, gets ready, knows it's going to be a monster, goes for it, realizes he's not going to make it, and that's failure. So I'm actually inclined to think that this is the same weight as the previous set, just because it was so similar. The first 4 repetitions, with minus the glitched ones, right about 1.1, 1.2 seconds. At 0 reps in reserve, he jumps to 2.10 seconds, which actually the set before his 0 reps was 4.1, 4 point something, and the 1 rep in reserve was 2.1. Basically, he's a rep behind on this set. Final set was failure. Now, if he had just squeezed through the sticking point, I bet that rep would have been 4.26 seconds or thereabouts and would have shifted everything back and it would have looked identical. Since he couldn't quite make it, that was a failure rep and adjust everything. Does that make sense? That is what a set of squats to failure looks like. Admittedly, only a set of 5, but it looks the same. You descend, you try to arise, you get stuck in the middle, and you dump it, or you lower to the pins and dump it off your head. And perhaps you can understand why when I see studies like Brad Schoenfeld's and the Brigado study claim that they did 5 or 8 sets of that to failure on a short rest interval, I think that's bullshit because good luck. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I had sort of a nice variety of videos here. Had that 35 set on the leg press to 0 reps in reserve. And again, just points out, basically you're doing 30 reps to do the same 5 final repetitions in terms of how the reps duration slows and the rep speed slows, the rep duration increases rather. That was contrasted nicely by a 1RM, where that single repetition looks essentially the same as the final repetition of a 0 rep in reserve set, because it has to. True 0 rep in reserve rep goes that slowly because it is effectively a 1 rep max. Had 2 nice squats for comparison, 1 to 0 reps in reserve, where he just barely made it through the sticking point, and another set where he just failed, but the same pattern holds. And also that points out again why when I read studies that go, we did multiple sets of squats to failure, I don't buy it, because to that level, unless you're defining failure very, very differently, as in when people gave up. And again, form failure is its own issue. I won't say that Ian's form was immaculate the entire way through the set. Anyway, I've got a bunch more of these to run, and I will keep running them as long as I have them. So if you want to send them to me, videos@bodyrecomposition.com, please do so. And the offer's still open. Mike or his training partners or any of the little guys, if you can break away from trying to phthalate Mike to shoot a video and take my challenge, I'll put yours up too. But I won't hold my breath, guys.